Hey, we are standing at the precipice of a new era. If we optimize this stage here, we can reroute the entire process and avoid those redundancies in the next quarter.
Okay, so let's be honest. Every single company on the planet is talking about AI right now. But what are they actually doing with it? That is the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it? And it gets us right to the heart of the matter. This massive, growing gap between what we're calling AI theater and AI reality. So let's pull back that curtain and see what's really going on behind the scenes. You know, this reminds me of something from years ago. I worked on a project building a robot for a pretty serious job, helping factory workers who handled grenades. The goal wasn't a splashy press release. It was just so that one person, at the end of their shift, could text their family and say, "I'm safe tonight." That really taught me something fundamental, something that I think the current AI hype cycle is completely forgetting. If the technology doesn't solve a real human problem, it's just really expensive decoration. And that's really the first big question every single organization needs to ask itself right now. Are your AI initiatives genuine innovation, or are they just for show? Look, every major technology wave follows this exact same curve. It's almost predictable. First, you get the hype. Then comes the theater, where everybody's kind of performing innovation for each other. After that, inevitably comes the reckoning, when the bills come due and the results just aren't there. And then finally, you get to the quiet integration phase, where the real work actually gets done. And here's the key takeaway. Right now, most companies are stuck right in the middle, in this incredibly painful, super expensive gap between performing and actually producing. So, let's pull the curtain back on this performance. Welcome to what we're calling AI theater, and trust me, the price of admission is steep. Let's look at the actual numbers, not the headlines. We hear all the time about AI driving layoffs, right? Well, the data tells a completely different story. Only about 5%, just 5%, of recent job cuts can be directly linked to actual AI productivity gains. So what about the other 95%? Well, that's just good old-fashioned cost-cutting wearing a very trendy AI costume. And the inefficiency here, it's just staggering. The average company today is running more than 12 disconnected AI pilot programs. And the vast majority of them have absolutely zero measurable impact on the bottom line. Think about that for a second. That's 12 separate bets, and pretty much all of them are going nowhere. And what's the cost to the actual employees? The people on the ground? They are spending over 3 hours of their workday. That's almost half the day just fixing the junk that these ineffective AI tools spit out. That's not a productivity gain, that is a massive productivity drain. So when you put all of that together, that is AI theater. It's this widespread practice of launching AI projects just to look good for the press or for investors. It's completely untethered from solving a real business problem or delivering any kind of measurable return. It is, quite simply, all performance and zero progress.
Now, this performance has a very real and I think very frustrating byproduct. I'm willing to bet that many of you have already run into this in your own jobs.
Yeah, we're calling it workslop. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that junk, that low-quality AI-generated stuff that's flooding our inboxes and our documents. It looks plausible for a second, but then you realize it's factually wrong, or poorly written, or just makes no sense in context. And it creates hours of tedious cleanup work for a human. It's the digital sludge that comes from AI theater. Here is a perfect side-by-side example. On the left, you've got classic AI speak, pure workslop. It's just full of these empty corporate buzzwords, right? Pivotal moment, testament to our commitment. It says absolutely nothing. But on the right, you have clear, factual human language. It tells you a result. One is theater, the other is reality. It's that simple. Okay, so enough about the problem. How do we escape the theater? How do we get back to reality? Let's get into a concrete 90-day playbook. And there are actionable steps in here for everyone, no matter what your role is in an organization. All right, if you're an employee, listen up, because you have way more power than you think. First, just map out where AI could actually fix a real headache in your day-to-day work. Then, and this is key, focus on building just one small change. Don't try to boil the ocean, but target a measurable business outcome, something like reduce our error rate by 10%, not just help me write emails faster. Okay, for the leaders, for the CEOs in the room, the directive is crystal clear. Put a freeze on any layoffs that are being justified by AI unless, and only unless, you've quantified, proven productivity gains in a specific workflow to back it up. Every single staff reduction has to be paired with a concrete plan for how that work is actually going to get done differently. No more excuses. Now, if you're an investor, it is time to get tough. You need to start asking for an AI value map. Force the company to show you what's actually live, what's in production, versus what's just a slick demo in a PowerPoint. And probably the most important question you can ask over and over again is simply this: show me how this moved revenue. And for the board members, your job here is oversight and accountability. You have to demand a reality brief, a reality check that puts the company's public AI story right next to the systems that are actually running. And you have to assess the rehiring risk. What is the plan if all these promised AI gains just never show up? So really, when you boil it all down, what we're talking about is the fundamental shift in mindset. It's about moving away from a culture of announcing things and toward a culture of engineering things. The companies that are truly winning with AI right now, they're not the ones on stage at big conferences. They're the ones in the background, quietly and diligently rewiring 2 or 3 critical processes, like customer onboarding or supply chain logistics. They're measuring their success in profit margin, not in rounds of applause. At the end of the day, it all comes back to a very simple, very grounding truth. To this day, my mother still thinks my job is basically just to fix printers. But you know what? Even she gets it. She knows that the fanciest, most expensive machine in the world is absolutely useless if it doesn't solve the right problem. So I'll leave you with a challenge. Go back to your team tomorrow. Pick one, just one, AI initiative that's going on, and ask that tough question. Is this theater or is this real?